here is a button for liking or hearting a image or a profile. So it's a very common button. We've got two panels working at the moment. One is a keynote presentation where we'll start designing our app or designing our button. And on the left-hand side is that code. So for this button, we need to start with a heart. I'll color it pink. Over in our app, I like putting my cursor in front of this squiggly bracket. You can see it closes at the bottom. And I like hitting enter so these brackets line up. It's really essential when you start learning to code that these brackets line up so it's easy to read your code and it's easy to find where mistakes are. Same on this one, and bring that down. At the moment, the text is hello world. Well, I'm going to change that to an image. And it's going to be a system image called heart.fill. A system image is one that's built into Xcode and available across the entire system. So regardless of what you're building, you can always use a system image. And there's our heart. I'm going to change the size of the heart. Now, this being a system image, I can simply change the size of the font and it'll allow us to change the size of the image. And to change the color, it's foreground color, color.pink. Now, with the properties, each object is changed by using a dot property name. So the image is changed to dot by dot font and dot foreground color. And if I want to change another property, I hit enter, put a dot in, and allow my helper to support me to find which property I want to change. As you can see, there's a lot in here that we will never use. So let's take blur, for example. I can change the blur to 50 and I'll blur my image. So these are all properties by hitting dot after the object. I quite like putting all the dots under each other because it gets too long going left to right. Let's get rid of blur. So the next object we want to add in is some text. Now, ideally, we'd like to put this beside each other. Increase the font size. Like so. I might even make that thin. Now to place text on the screen, we simply type text and put in speech marks the words we want on the screen. Now we're going to get a massive error here saying that there's a whole heap of things that are wrong. The main issue is the fact that the computer doesn't know where to place these objects. So do you want the heart above the words? Do you want them below, left, right, or even on top of each other like that? So we need to tell the computer how we'd like to arrange these objects. And that's what the error is. The code doesn't know how to arrange them. So we put them into what's called a stack. So I'm going to use a H stack in this case. H stack, enter, squiggly bracket, enter. And you can see everything that's inside of these brackets is going to be placed next to each other. And there we go. No more error. And you can see the box around here is the H stack that contains the text and the image. Now, if I was to change this H stack into a V stack, they go above and below each other. If I put the text first, it'll go above. Text last, it will go below. Or I can even choose a Z stack, which places the text on top of the image. And again, if I put this behind, I won't be able to see it at all, but you can see the frame still exists. It's actually behind the heart. So every object on the screen needs to be placed into a stack of some kind in order to tell the computer where to arrange and place the objects. I'm going to stick with my H stack. Again, .font. And there's my thin font. So again, matching what I have over here. Next step is to throw a border around this frame. Now you can do a border like so, where on the H stack, it has a property called border. However, it's quite tight around that edging. So we can add padding. Around the objects. However, again, we'd like to use a rounded rectangle. So our button, we really want it to look more smooth, I suppose. So we'll get a rounded rectangle and place it around. Like so. So if we're going to place a rounded rectangle on top of this H stack, we need to use a Z stack. So I'm going to place my H stack inside the Z stack. Nothing has changed at the moment, but if I add a rounded rectangle, and the rounded rectangle requires a corner radius, so I'll say 20. There's our rounded rectangle. Dot stroke, which is the line that goes around the object. Border goes around the frame. We keep shifting that across until we're happy with the sizings. There we go. So our button now is taking shape. The rounded rectangle has a corner radius of 20, which means that edging on the outside is 20. If we were to choose border to actually go around that rounded rectangle, it would actually put it on the blue frame there. So we'd end up with a border around the frame, not a stroke around the outside of the shape. So that's the difference between stroke and border. So we've now got our button all complete.